Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, my guest this morning, the first of the two of them, Alhaji Hassan Abdulaziz Sani, communication professional and opinion builder. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Hassan.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Yori, and good morning, Nigeria.
Indeed. We'll shortly be joined by Monday Onyekachi Ubani. But we were going to look at the somewhat speculative topic of the federal cabinet, whether there's a need to reshuffle or not. In fact, one paper, I think yesterday, the week is just, it's so young. I think it was on Monday, had used the expression that the president, since returning to the country, was preoccupied. Well, I don't know I don't know if there's any substantiation for that particular idea. But just looking at it, people don't just reshuffle for the sake of reshufflement. There must be a reason. What do you think? Do you think there is a need trying to second guess the presidency or the president now? There will be pressure, but what are the parameters to reshuffle a cabinet, and do you think it is imminent, or is it not a possible concept also that the president is entirely happy with what he has, and why mend a thing that ain't broke?
Thank you very much, Mr. Yori. People can decide to speculate, and speculations always arises as a result of insufficient information from the formal sources.
Okay.
And with our president being abroad on a medical sojourn for some times, it gives room for speculations. And people have the right to their opinion, and the president also is the commander-in-chief, and he can decide to do it or not to do it. One thing is very clear. It reminds me of the chairman of GE, General Electric, Mr. Jack Welch.
Okay, the American electric
who started his career in GE in 1960 and became the chairman of GE Massachusetts in 1981. He said, and I quote in one of his books, The Winning, he said, a leader relentlessly upgrade his team. And he now uses every encounter as an opportunity to evaluate and build self-confidence. So whether the Mr. President reshuffles or not, it is his right.
It is his right. But is it an inevitable proposition?
No, it's not an inevitable proposition. Because what I see, this is my own personal opinion. I'm not holding.
Oh, we are speculating.
I'm not holding brief for Mr. President. I'm holding brief for myself as a Nigerian, as an electorate, as a person that has confidence in the president and the government. That as far as I'm concerned, the ministers are not bad.
Because that was where I was going to go. I was going to say, you were quoting Mr. Walsh. I was wondering, when you said you quoted him as saying what he did say, that a leader relentlessly seeks to upgrade his team. Well, if a team is a winning team, I wonder do you still need to upgrade for the sake of, because let it be said, in our context, in the context of this conversation, speculative and all of that, ministers and the like are drawn from a pool of deserving people who usually have done political work, and oftentimes it is a method of rewarding such work. And it's going to be a large pool, and I doubt that everybody that contributed could indeed have been touched by way of reward.
No. You see, reshufflement is not a failure. It's a way of rejigging the government and the governance. It's never a failure. It's not a sacking. Reshufflement means you can decide to move a minister from a ministry to another ministry.
That's one.
You understand?
That's one type.
That is one. And you can decide to
drop
a minister. But I don't think dropping a minister now is a good option, because the government is not having it easy with the National Assembly. No any nomination will go without the National Assembly's approval. So how do you expect this government, midway, to begin to push names to National Assembly that are unfriendly to the government? I don't think that one is the best way to go. The best way to go is to move them around where necessary. Where
that
some,
wouldn't require
not
approval.
all of them. Not all of them.
Oh, okay.
That goes.
That is to say, if you were president, you wouldn't move all of them.
Yes, that goes without the approval. It's the prerogative of Mr. President to move people from one ministry to other without the approval of the National Assembly.
He doesn't need approval for that.
It's an executive order. And President is competent enough to know that, and I think we have confidence in him to do the rightful.
Okay, you know, all of this came about, I imagine, because we keep on talking about the midterm. This particular, administration is in the midterm of its first tenure, or, his tenure. We don't know whether, but that's how we say it. Most presidents around the world usually want 2 tenures. The notable exception being, the great Nelson Mandela, who was satisfied with just the one for his own political reasons of leadership. That was another form of leadership where he had said, it's enough, guys. Somebody else take over.
That's not a leadership, that's a sacrifice.
I thought leaders sacrifice.
We knew leaders sacrifice, but he decided in his own way, you understand, to jettison the opportunity offered to him.
Okay.
Based on old age, and he gave his reason. He wanted to go back to his family and reconcile his family. Because he left, being in detention for a very long time, his home was in shambles. So he wanted to devote the remaining years to live on this earth, to reconcile
family that had sacrificed so much.
His own family.
Okay, so therefore, let's take that one out of the equation, as you have said, that, Mandela's case was uniquely different. Therefore, we go with the first part of my earlier statement. Most presidents usually try for a second term.
That is their right.
That is their right.
That is in their own right.
But there's been so much speculation about it. Maybe because it's the midterm. We even heard stories. Remember, there were all sorts of interesting stories that were flying around when the president was away. And there was even this one about the vice president having been giving the go-ahead to if he thought so, if he thought there was a requirement. Now, nobody knows the veracity or otherwise of these statements, but they were floating around in the air. Now the president is back. There's so many things that are going to be on the top of his mind, especially in his in-tray. Whether or not reshuffling his cabinet is one of them, and if so, whether it is imminent, that's the part that's left. So you said you don't think this cabinet is bad, meaning that if you were president, for example, you wouldn't drop anybody. You've explained that you might shuffle, but you don't see that there's any need to drop anybody. If you were to give a scorecard of the ministers, for instance, without naming names, of course, you think that as a group, they've really been doing their best? Because whoever is coming in now is going to have to start from ground zero, as opposed to these guys who have the experience that they have.
Mr. Yori, in every situation you see in this world, people perform much more better under tension. The ministers, right from inception, were under serious tension by the opposition, serious tension by what people will call executive applicants. They don't have a job. Their job is to wreak havoc, create impression that nothing is well, and for them to go and take money from federal and state and even local governments. But the issue with this government is this. This government did not provide such kind of opportunity for them to lose the country dry. Even the agitation you are hearing, every left, right, and the center, only very few of them are sincere. We should get to know, differentiate between a sincere view and a view that is tainted with a lot of interest, hatred, and what have you. Let us get to know. We have PDP on the ground. They are doing their own. They joined the agitation for restructuring, agitation for resource control, agitation for Biafra. It's a distraction. My advice to the federal government of Nigeria, the president and the vice president and the members of the executive arm, all the MDAs, is for them to ignore the distraction and face the nation building. Let them do something before the 2 years elapse so that Nigerians can have something to say.
Yeah.
The same people talking about agitation are the same people that will come on here and be asking him about his scorecard. Yeah. It's a distraction.
Indeed.
That's my own opinion.
You know, when you just, in this answer that you've just given, you said, and the Minister of Information was here, I think it was on Monday that he was here. His premise largely was that the successes of this administration, modest as they may be, perhaps not yet, you know, haven't come to full bloom as they are being seriously underreported. That was his perspective. Do you think if you put any store on that remark, do you think the people generally have enough information about how well this administration has done in the light of the charge of the Minister of Information that just pure hatred is not allowing people to understand fully the successes being recorded, and therefore they might not really have all the wherewithal, so to say, to determine whether a restructuring is necessary or whether it will be a distraction to even talk about that or not?
For the minister, with due respect to Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, you see, it's not the issue of being underreported. It's an issue that has to do with all of us. It's an issue of psychology. And you need to go through the antecedents of the government, how the government came in, for you to arrive at your own logical conclusions. This is a government that inherited a system that was vandalized, a government that was looted, blue and black. You understand? You see, we really appreciate the government. Do you know why? The patriotism of General Muhammad Buhari and selflessness of General Muhammad Buhari really improves the economy. Because had it been, the PDP found their way back to the government, I don't think we'll be saying what we are saying today here. I don't think so. Because they are not managers. They were looters.
Okay, on that point, let's take a quick break so we can bring in our second guest, as I said at the top of the program. Stay with us, please. Monday, Onyekachi Ubani is coming on.
It's up to us.
Sorry about that. Welcome back, and we've since been joined by Onyekachi Ubani, second National Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Indeed. You've been in the studio for a while, and you've been hearing our conversation. I wonder what your take is as to whether or not there is a need for to reshuffle or drop, or, you know, the two versions of reshuffle. One, you could mix people up. Two, you could drop someone and bring someone else in. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Well, my take is that there is what you call underlying principle behind reshufflement in any government. The main reason is actually to rejig the government. If the person that is in charge sees that his ministers are not performing up to expectation, you have a right to actually drop completely, or you change a particular minister to another ministry. So the underlying principle is to rejig your administration. So is there any need for it at this time? Is there any minister that is not performing up to expectation that will warrant you dropping or changing him to another ministry? And note this, it's important that when people come into a particular ministry, they need to study the intricacies of the ministry,
I made the point.
the work, and then come to the knowledge where you now develop expertise and now begin to run with the ministry. Now, if you begin to alter, if you begin to change midstream, you cause a lot of confusion, and that person will not be in a position to carry out all the programs he has for that ministry.
And so there's a need to decide whether the cost is worth it.
Worth it. So the issue of patience is also very key, because we are very impatient in this part of the world. Oh, no, we want result immediately. But a particular person that is coming into a ministry at a time need to study the intricacies, especially like power. Power is not something you just come into it and then you become an expert overnight. You need to know all the system, all the structures on ground, and then discover where there are deficiencies and what you need to do in order to put that particular structure in place. And so, which is actually what is the present minister is actually doing, because in our conference that we just ended in Lagos, the Minister for Power was there, and he gave a very proper and graphic explanation of what is actually going on. It's not something that within 1 year you can actually study completely and have all the complete knowledge and then begin to carry out. So you need to study that intricacies and then get the correct prescription in order to ensure that we begin to have permanent power. So if you begin to now alter, change, drop and all that, then the person you are bringing in will now start the process of learning again and all that, learning afresh. And then by that time, we would have made not much progress. So it's important we understand the principle behind reshuffling government. And then if you don't get it right, you run into a problem of keep on changing. And it's not
so therefore, you're saying that it's not an action that will be taken lightly.
Lightly.
That should be taken lightly. And can only be taken if at all. But this whole matter about people have started to think that we're close to midterm. It's virtual midterm.
That's right.
And because of that, a reshufflement might be in order. That's what you've actually spoken against. No, it doesn't. It's not necessarily like that.
It's not issue of midterm. It's the issue of there is a guiding principle. Is it necessary? Is it worth it? Do you change a winning team if they are doing well and they are really trying now to get a proper understanding of their various ministries? So, is it proper for you now to change them and all that? So the cost is important.
Alhaji Hassan, I made him the president so that he could tell me if he would reshuffle, being the president. Now it's your turn Monday. If you were the president, did you think there's much benefit to be gained from reshuffling?
Initially, there was this teething problem, and almost all the ministers, faced it. There were some ministers that were talking too much. Somebody like the Minister for Sports, he was very garrulous, and sometimes he was misfiring. I think, but he has now, he's acting on proper advice. Now he doesn't talk anyhow. And then he has actually concentrated on his ministry. If I'm in the shoe, of the president, I would have initially, changed the Minister for Sports because of the way he was misfiring. But after some time, it's like the man has actually understand the game, and he's now paying attention to his ministry, and he's talking less. And that to me is something that is, but the man of agriculture, I haven't seen much, but I have heard him.
Okay.
I have not seen much of partnership with him and state government in order to actually, have some level of farm produce. The yam they are exporting, I don't know whether the yam is coming from the federal government arrangement or from private agriculturists. So it's important we get to know what the Minister for Agriculture is actually doing, because we must pay attention to agriculture. If we must leave oil and then begin to diversify, agriculture is one of the key areas we need to diversify and begin to have federal government partnering either with individuals or with state government in order to ensure we have more of food for us as a nation. We're a great country. So these are the ministries I will look at and say critically
and take a decision
if there is any decision to be taken on those two ministries actually.
Hassan, would you agree with that? Because well, Monday says he hasn't seen as much as perhaps he might have wanted in the agricultural realm. But there have been some news stories saying that there are efforts in that direction. The president himself, when he came back, it was one of the things he mentioned as a key to be addressed. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Barrister Onyekachi spoke very well. And he spoke the minds of unbiased-minded people. But one thing is very clear. We must start from somewhere. And that was why I said reshufflement do not mean dropping.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
Yes, no. You move them around where they can best perform their duties. Even within the MDAs, you understand, the departments and predecessors, you can move them around. That is an executive order.
You know, talking about that, sir, the president took his time, and Nigerians complained, and the response we were getting while complaints were ongoing was that the president is taking his time. Critics said it was far, far too long. He ought to have hit the ground running, but the president took his time. The idea being he wanted the right people. If he took all that time to get people that he wanted, and that up to now we have to imagine he's happy with them, since the president can hire and fire at any time. He doesn't have to wait for any reshufflement period. There are those considerations, because for the first 6 months, remember, we didn't have ministers. So they haven't spent that long. And so here we are now. People are actually thinking that reshufflement might be in order.
You know, we're impatient people.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I've been told that Mazi Okoroafo, I'll come straight back to you. Mazi Okoroafo, Novex. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, August in the studio. Good morning, August. Honestly speaking, the cabinet reshufflement is not the answer for now, because we have roughly 2 years at most to go. But what we need now is correction of any error in any ministry. How do we correct it? Thank God that what they talk about speech. People talk about their own speech. At least you criticize. But what I say that when you criticize, you give an answer. Look at the Ministry of Education and the Labour. Unilaterally with ASU. Can the government within that business say this is their time for the students and this is their time for the parents? At least we know that things are moving. Because the president alone cannot do all this job. That is why we have different ministries. When you bring in a report to the ministry, I expect the ministry to sit down, analyze it, bring out the answer that will be favorable to everybody in this country. Because if you change the cabinet, you will like change this. That's what we talk about recycling. When you change, are you going to recycle again, or you are going to bring technocrats, or you are going to bring president to National Assembly to come and attest, confirm what it is? This is waste of time. Let us continue with the ones we have. The only thing that anybody that has people that continue conclusion, let them do what they call constructive criticism, and let us take it in good faith and face reality. And when you talk with facts and figures. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. So he gave me the answer that if he were president, it is what he said that would hold sway. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yes. We are impatient people. And when we ask for our daily bread, as Christians used to say it, we want it now. We are not patient. We don't care about the preparation that it takes. We don't care about the processes. We want it now. But that's not the case. You need to sympathize with the government. Sympathize with it.
Without being a government person yourself, and without being a spokesman of government yourself.
We need to, there's a need. I'm a Nigerian. I'm part of the government as a Nigerian.
Okay.
Yes, because
you're a stakeholder.
Yes, I'm a stakeholder, and I have every right to say it. Whoever has any diverse opinion against my own, he can come on here and say his own. This democracy. But one thing is very clear. Look at the government itself. Look at the composition of government itself. It took him some more time to make some checks and put those people in place. You understand? That's why it's never a problem. The permanent secretaries were there doing their job. You understand? And they came on board and they are trying their best. But the issue is this. Criticism left, right, and the center.
Okay.
But now, my advice to the government, Ignore the criticism.
Okay.
Embark on a laudable project in which will impact positively on Nigerians before the 2 years elapse.
Okay, but governments can't afford to ignore criticisms. I mean, they have to take useful ones.
Criticism,
constructive criticism.
Yes, but the
in
issue
fact, this
is
government has said that it will actually consider constructive criticism.
But the issue is this: we are seeing distractions.
Oh, okay, okay. Femi is calling. Good morning, Femi in Sulere. I don't think the line is favorable. Femi in Sulere, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, please, good morning. I'll put you on. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yore.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
What I want to say is that the issue of this cabinet reshuffle, the issue of this cabinet reshuffle or not, is not necessary now. It's not necessary now. What exactly we need, when we elected the president, we knew quite right that he is not the person that is going to take us out of this wood. It is our collective responsibility.
He's not the person who is going to take us out of it alone.
To put an input into what we want to be done. What I would suggest is that at least normally these ministers are our employees of Nigerians.
Public servants.
They should be able to give us. They should be able to give us what they are doing every 90 days. They should face us. Come with their technocrats, tell us what they are doing in their ministry. When they tell us what they are doing in their ministry, they should give us the time to talk with them too, on the phone. Then they should, at the same time, in their ministry, they should provide a platform where Nigerians can make contributions, and they should create a department within every ministry where we can give an input what should be done. Because they are not the best in Nigeria, and all of us cannot be the best. We cannot always get the best there, but the best are outside that have interest of this country at heart, who wants to put input. That is the thing I think they should do. From there, we'll be able to assess our ministers. The president cannot assess the ministers.
Okay.
When they come, they just give a report. I have worked in the ministry. You send a very nice report, and they will clap for you. But that is not the exact thing that is on the ground. Well, but all Nigerians are there. We know what is happening around. We know where we can put input. So that is the thing I think we should do now.
Thank you very much for calling in, Femi. Appreciate your call, but I'll take exception with one point that he made, that the president cannot assess the ministers. Of course he can. Yeah, he can. Of course he can.
He's
the guy who...
He's the appointer. He's the one that appointed them.
He appointed them.
And
he would have given them, marching orders and a roadmap. So he cannot evaluate how well they've done.
Evaluation actually is within the presidency. He's the one that appointed them in the first place. And he must have actually given them a guideline or an agenda, to pursue. He must have a bit of knowledge. He may not be an expert in all the ministries, but if you are a chief executive, you must have a little idea of what that ministry entails and what you expect a prospective minister or commissioner, if it's in the state, to achieve. So if you don't have that idea, then you cannot even be in a better position to evaluate whether the person you have appointed is actually performing. So the president must have that power to evaluate his ministers. Exactly. And then if anyone is not performing up to expectation, then he has the right to actually... And
it is for the president to decide.
He decides.
It is for the president to decide whether or not any particular minister...
Let me say this about, Mr. Fashola.
But, sorry, sir, before that, the gentleman, Mr. Femi, was talking about a progress report. I think he was talking about a quarterly progress report.
If I'm in the shoe of those ministers, I would like to be given what we call monthly account of what my ministry is doing. Are you following me? And then we should even have agencies that are evaluating these ministers. And so this month, this is the minister of the month. That is the way to go for us. As a developing nation, we are grappling with a lot of developmental issues. And
because we have an urgent situation.
We have an urgent situation. So
I think the point
we can even have agencies, that can be evaluating them. Oh, this month, the minister of this is a minister of the month. Next month and all that. Then that competition, then you engineer competition within the ministries, and you see that the ministers actually will be performed. If I'm in the shoe of the presidency, I can even be saying that this is the minister of the month.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, anything. But,
I do that in my firm, lawyer of the month.
Okay, but this, the point has been made that this administration came on board in very dire times, you know. Not everybody was empathetic about the matter, but the point was made that there's so much more than they had thought they would have to do in terms of cleaning up before they could actually start. They had felt they'd be able to start from day one, but we now understood, as was told us, that so much damage had been brought to bear that we have to first of all fix that to some appreciable level, perhaps not fix it totally, before we can now start. So there's all of that, and I think, Hassan, you alluded to that at the very beginning, the time this administration came in.
Yes. You see, one thing is very clear. Let us go back to the basis of economics. The economics is about satisfying the unlimited wants within the framework of limited resources. Now, yes, we had problems on our hands. The government had problems on their hands when they assumed office. Yes, it's an open secret. But one thing is very clear. Within your limited resources, you can make a change.
Indeed.
Like what Mr. President said.
Scarce resources.
You know, Mr. President made one profound statement.
Bob, in just 1 second, please. I'll be right with you.
You know, President made one profound statement. He said, enough of challenges. We should now begin to see how we can make a change. You understand?
In other words,
enough of complaining.
Okay.
Let us make a change. And the time for change is now, before the 2 years elapsed.
Okay, so he himself gave marching orders. Yeah. Thank you very much for holding on all that while, Bob. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. It took a longer time before you could answer me. You should know that.
I'm so sorry.
Talking with you.
I apologize.
I had money to talk with you.
I apologize.
Well, in respect of your topic, I would say I'm in support of it. The cabinet should be reshuffled. If not total reshufflement, it should be probably partial reshufflement, because the presidency must have observed some ministers that are not really performing. Because keeping somebody in such department without record of good performance, I don't think they should carry on with that to the end of the tenure. So it's high time for him to know the real people who are not really working for the benefit of this country. You understand me? To really relieve them from their post and get people who are ready to work for him and place him there. So that's what I would say.
Okay.
So reshufflement is quite important at this time around, because it has a little year to end up with. And he really needs people who can work in the areas some of the ministers have failed.
Okay, in your opinion?
Can you mention some of them?
You don't want to indicate what areas you would have wanted more progress?
You said?
You do not. Do you want to indicate areas in which you would have wanted more progress than you have seen?
Well,
go on. Bob?
I wouldn't, it would be very implicating. I wouldn't like to.
You see, I wonder if you have the courage of your convictions.
They don't know that, so I wouldn't like to be.
So you just want him to reshuffle for reshufflement's sake?
So I will tell them. If they want me to tell them, they should invite me. Then I will tell them in camera.
Okay, then. Thank you very much for calling in. Well, there you go. People want to be now. I say, okay, if it's not reshufflement for reshufflement's sake, what areas do you think we might have recorded more progress? They might have said, well, maybe I'd better not say. You can then imagine the situation the president will be in.
First, he's not convinced. In the States, what they do is that every 6 months, they change commissioners. And when you are being appointed as a commissioner, you are being told specifically, try as much as possible to gather whatever you can gather, because within 6 months you are going.
Wait a minute, gather, what do you mean by gather?
Well, it is
do as much work as you can.
No, not as much work, as whatever you can earn. It's come and chop, and that is why that's what goes on in the States. I'm telling you what goes on.
In the States?
In the States.
But
and
the federal capital.
No, they
it's not like
they don't retain you because of excellent performance. It's very rare. So what they do is that after 6 months,
this hot potato you put down on the table. So
you know, I know that is what goes on in the various states. You know, now I'm in Nigeria.
Yes. Now.
So when you come in, it's not about performance now. They give you a timeline within which you should be there, and you know it. And within 6 months, they just shove you, and then compensate other political person. So it's come and chop stuff.
Compensating them for leg work or whatever.
For all they did.
All they did
to elect him into power.
Now, does that situation also occur at the federal level?
It's issue of patronage now, not issue of performance. And that has actually kept us where we are. And that's why people keep on saying, oh, change the cabinet, oh, change the commissioners and all that. Because it's not about performance. It's not about the person is not performing. It's about getting other people to come also and chop. So it's chop, I chop mentality that they actually, kept us in where we are today. And so for us as a people, for us that know what should happen in a nation, we should not encourage, just reshufflement for the reshufflement's sake. We should encourage reshufflement where it is absolutely necessary. Where there is no performance, then you have to alter. But when there is performance, you don't change a winning team.
Okay.
You allow those guys to have master and their mastery of their ministry, ministry, and they begin to now develop the nation.
Okay.
So if you change for changing sake, you're not helping the nation at all.
Mr. Hussein, how do you see it, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, panel of one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning, brother.
I was. Hello, come again.
I say good morning. How do you see it?
I'm good.
Okay.
I commend my enviable friend here, Alaji Hassan.
Yes. But the matter of reshufflement of the cabinet, what's your opinion?
Okay, the issue that I see is the fact that the first mistake that this government did was merging ministries and putting so much burden on ministers. A typical example is this. The work that is given to Minister Fashola is just too much. How can you say one minister will do housing, will do works, and at the same time will do power? It's practically not possible. It's not going to work. It's not going to perform. That is just the basic truth. The fact remains that until, even if it is possible, each state that will have 70-something ministers, if that can give results, it's better than having a less minister that will not give results. That is just the basic truth. How can you say a minister will work housing, will works, and at the same time will do power? It's absolutely nothing that is not just possible. It's not just possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hussein. Appreciate your call. The president, before appointing his ministers, had spoken about his interest in seeing leaner government. And as you remember, part of cost cutting, conserving resources, nobody knew how the president was going to come up with it, but we, in the fullness of time, saw. Well, now you're hearing this opinion. Yes, it's your turn now, Hassan. What do you think about the idea that Mr. Hussein put on the ground that he would split up some ministries that had been merged?
Let me start from Mr. Femi that called from Surulere.
Okay.
You see, Mr. Femi spoke well, and he made a very important pointer to one thing.
He spoke well in your opinion?
Yes.
Aha, in your opinion.
Appraisal.
Okay.
You understand? The ministers, the heads of MDAs, all the MDAs, ministry, departments, and parastatals, should take it upon themselves to be briefing Nigerians every month or quarterly.
So you think we don't know enough?
About their strength and constraints. Where they started from, where they are, and where they are going to be.
But people are baying for results.
No,
we want results.
The result is this. The result is this. You see, people don't know what is going on inside. You need to let them know about it. It's like a bride. You understand? It's like a woman. You need to present yourself to a woman first to see your qualities before she can pitch her tent with you. You understand? So the issue now is this. Let them come up and let there be monitoring. Do you know how? Let me advise this government on what to do. In all the geographical areas of Nigeria, both the northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, middle belt, everywhere, we have people that are patriotic.
Indeed, we do.
That can monitor the government.
Okay. Mr. Rashid, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Please go ahead.
Good morning. I so much appreciate your intellectual program that you do. This is my second time of calling this program.
Very kind of you.
I will be in support of this Barrister Obani, who says that even if we are suffering, we should look into the Ministry of Agriculture and that of sport. But I will extend it further to that of power. Because if you see today, the NEPA, the analog system of operating still continue. Like in my own house now, I still get a crazy billing every month. In this my house in Surulere, yeah, you are seeing power that you are seeing in television, and in practice it's a different thing entirely. You are seeing where they are billing a meter that has not been working for over 3 years, that has accrued to over 300,000. You see, these ministers, they should notice, they should know one thing, that Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are suffering. The other day, the Bureau of Statistics come up with their corruption allegation and this and that. It is true, because there's no way any civil servant in Nigeria today will not be corrupt. The reality is that the Nigerians are suffering. We are the receiving end of their own non-performing whatever.
Okay.
If they are there, they are not performing, we are the ones that are the receiving end, because there's no how somebody like me now will see bribe and not take it. I will see bribe, I will take it with my both hands, because we are suffering. So my own take is that we are to do the needful, because at the end of the day, it will be the one that will account for anything that is go right or wrong.
All right then. Thank you very much for calling in. Monday, coming back to you, what Mr. Rashid and perhaps some other people, one or two other people that have also commented along those lines, they not seeing results that, as far as they are concerned, satisfies them. I refer to, Lai Mohammed's utterance, statement that whatever, without denying the fact that there's a heck of a lot of work to be done, but even that which has been done for whatever reason, and he put it down to, I think he went as far as hatred, is being underreported. So people don't actually have a proper view of that which has been done with which to assess. Now, I don't know if Mr. Rashid, who called, if he could also fall into the category of perhaps not knowing as much has been done, because you have said, in fact, both you gentlemen have said that by and large, you're not displeased with what's going on. But maybe that's because you're an opinion molder, you're a commentator on current affairs. The rest of us, maybe we just consume it and might not necessarily be aware of all the strides, all the advancements, all the gains, modest as they are, let it be said, that are being made.
Yes, I think if the minister said that, I don't know whether it's an indictment on him, because he is a minister for information. You have the NTAs, you have almost all the newspapers at your beck and call. You can call a press conference at any point in time and then disseminate information as to the performance of this government. So I don't know why somebody will not want to report, a minister if he now tells Nigerians, the breakthroughs they're having in governance.
Well, he called that brigade, that whole brigade that he alleged that according to me, to him, was behind all of this negative reporting, non-reporting, as a mammoth industry.
So I think
he was suggesting that there are paid hacks.
No, sir. What I would rather suggest for this government is for them to give out information. I personally, as a citizen, know that things are happening in Nigeria. I mean, I open the social media, I see a lot of Nigerians now concentrating on manufacturing local things. There is this particular Nigerian that is now manufacturing beds, furniture. Beautiful. Better than the ones you see made in Italy, sir. Are you following me? Unlike before, I now eat Abakaliki rice. In fact, I want to buy for my pastor. You know, there is a pastor that I want to get him Abakaliki rice. I order it from my lawyer, who is from Abakaliki.
So that's agriculture then?
Yes, that's agriculture.
So
what we're saying is that a lot of development, but you see, these things are not so much visible now. But in time to come, you know, you begin to see even local manufacturers now. A lot of Nigerians are now looking inwards in manufacturing, not now, you know, believing in, you know, importation. And Nigerians now are changing their taste. We are now concentrating on local things. So what I'm trying to say is that the minister owes the responsibility of informing Nigerians through the social media, through the, you know, hard media. Whatever. Let's begin to know what is actually happening in this government. But for me as a citizen, I know something is that, but there are sufferings and all that. But it's something for the meantime. But I tell you, after some time, we begin to really appreciate the gain
once we have gained critical mass.
Beautiful, this government is actually doing.
Mr. Joshua, thank you for holding on. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to Barrister Obani and Mr. Arthur.
Thank you, sir.
And how are you and how is your family?
We are good. We are good. We are good. Good morning.
Really?
Yeah.
No reshuffling. Uncle Yori.
Yes.
What I and other Nigerians want is plenty and affordable food. Constant electricity. Yeah. And maybe just some few social amenities. Nigerians, we are not greedy. We elected this very government just to start there for 4 years. Are you getting it? And maybe if they do this, just very few things, let the cost of food go at least to the level where a common man will be able to afford this very food in the market.
That's right.
I'm telling you, Uncle Yori, people are dying. Is it until what happened in the days of the Bible days? Are you getting it? Where people now kill their children so that they will be able to survive. That is when our government will wake up. The level of criminality and crime that is existing in this very nation is because people cannot really feed themselves. And that is why people now go into crime. Okay, let me tell you something. If the government wants to really do well, let them streamline their own agenda. If they want to have 3-point agenda, agriculture, power, and let's say work, we will give them 100%. We don't want a 7-point or 100-point agenda. We just want at least 3-point agenda. Let everybody be able to feed his or our family. To discover this very nation will be a wonderful. I will give the president another 4 years, a special grace of God.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua. Appreciate your call. Hassan, there you go. Okay, we leave. I thought you might want to have comments on that. He is saying that he doesn't even mind if you narrow things down so that you can better focus on gains. But these things don't always work like that. Sometimes you have to have a multifaceted approach.
But there must be area of priority. Alhaji, don't be angry. There must be area of priority. Like Nigerians are saying, issue of power. If this government succeed in tackling issue of power and then issue of food for the common man, people will, if he wants, even if he wants 16 years,
for everything
beautiful.
Else.
That's what he's saying.
Even
Don't make it bogus. 20 agendas, just even 1 or 2, and then concentrate within 4 years, and you see result in those 2 agendas. Yeah, Nigerians will say they are not. We're not greedy, as Rally pointed out.
Yes, we're not. But to be fair, do we have one of those, as the point is being made, 200-point agendas? I don't really believe so.
Every government come with several agendas anyway. 7 points, 7 point, and all that.
His own opinion is one. Joshua's opinion is one out of 100 and something million Nigerians. Out of 100 and something million Nigerians, it's one opinion.
Yes, an valuable one.
Yes, we know. It's highly valuable, yes. But he said his own.
Okay.
If another party is, will call now, if another party calls now, it will be a different ball game altogether.
Indeed. Let me include Madam Beatrice. Beatrice is on the line, wants to join us. Good morning, Beatrice.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in,
ma'am. Good morning.
Go right ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead, ma'am.
Go ahead.
The point I want to make is that this government the mistake admission. By putting, they made a mistake admission by putting square pegs in round holes.
Go ahead, please.
And be specific.
Are you still there, Beatrice?
Who are the square pegs? Who are the round?
I think she just... okay, thank you very much, Beatrice. Short and sharp. According to Beatrice, mistake was made from the beginning. Square pegs in round holes. She thinks people don't fit their ministries. That's another opinion. Please continue.
Yes, that's the opinion of hers. And she said it in a fantastic way of hers. One thing is very clear. You see, government is about people. We have different people calling for different things. And they must give attention to them. That is it.
But whether or not there's a need to restructure, I would guess from what she said, she didn't get there.
No, it's not restructuring.
I beg your pardon. I didn't want to use...
It's not restructuring.
It's the right word. It's a word now people are using, so it's called restructuring.
I wanted to say, you say need to reshuffle. Clearly, I would imagine that she thinks yes.
It seems you were consumed by the
because that is the topic.
By the amplifying word.
Beatrice has just
by
given
the
us her
amplifying
opinion.
word,
And I think
restructuring.
I think she...
You see, there's no problem in reshuffling. You understand? There's nothing wrong with reshufflement.
Okay, so we have to round off now. Really, no point in reshuffling.
There's no point, and I would want government to narrow down their agenda. And this is an advice I'm giving to them. If this government can get the issue of lights, power, and agriculture, those two issues, they can handle others, but the main issue that should be a priority for them now is the issue of power, because it's a catalyst. Yes. If you have power restored in this nation, Nigerians are, we are so hardworking. We will ensure that this economy moves from where it is now to a higher level.
We're going to have to leave it there.
Get the power right. Get the power right. Please, Buhari, get power right.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Onyeka Ubani, Second National Vice President, MBA, and Alhaji Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani. I put one extra Al in there. Actually, it's Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani. Thank you very much. Communication professional and opinion leader. We don't know what the president is thinking. The president might have made up his mind. It might well be that he's going to be taking inputs such as this in forming his decision on whether or not to reshuffle, whether to move people around, whether to drop people, bring other people in. We'll just wait and see. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for your perspective.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then that's our program today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.